Have you ever wondered how an ordinary-looking coin that you might pass through your hands in daily change could actually be hiding one of the greatest treasures in numismatic history and be worth more than entire mansions, luxury cars, or even small islands? Today we are diving into the fascinating and unbelievable story of the 1984 D1 USA coin that, despite its humble face value of just a single cent, has been recorded in collector history with an estimated worth of $214 million because of its incredibly rare errors, minting mistakes, and the way those flaws combined to turn what would otherwise be a simple copper-plated zinc penny into one of the most valuable small coins ever known. And if you are joining us for the first time, make sure you stick around until the end, because the details behind this coin will absolutely blow your mind, and by the time we finish you will see why people are paying astronomical sums for coins that on the surface seem so ordinary but in reality hide the kinds of minting mysteries that only a handful of experts can spot at first glance. The 1984 D1 coin comes from the Denver Mint, and during that period the US Mint had fully transitioned from copper pennies to copper-plated zinc planchets, which were notoriously tricky to strike cleanly, because the plating was thin and any overpressure, misaligned die, or improper planchette preparation could cause splits, cracks, blisters, or weak spots. And it was during that same period that some coins left the presses with doubled dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, and lamination flaws, errors that today send collectors racing to auctions with deep pockets. And the 1984 D has become infamous for a particular group of rare examples that combine multiple flaws into one coin. For instance, there are known examples where the obverse Lincoln bust has an extra earlobe doubling effect, with Lincoln's earlobe appearing twice, one hanging slightly below the other, which numismatists instantly recognize as the legendary 1984 double die obverse. And while that coin already commands impressive sums, the rarest and most extreme versions tied to the Denver minting have additional features like an off-center strike that leaves part of the rim cut off, or clash marks from dies slamming together without a planchette in between, or mint mark placement that was slightly tilted or repunched, all of which multiply the coin's desirability. So when you imagine one example containing a double die obverse, plus blistered plating, plus an off-center strike, plus a repunched D mint mark, and then somehow escaping quality control to circulate before being discovered, you begin to see why that coin could skyrocket into the hundreds of millions in value. Now, when we break down why this coin can reach a staggering $214 million valuation, we must remember that in numismatics the value is not only about metallic composition or face value but rarity, uniqueness, story, and demand. The story of the 1984 D1 is legendary because it represents the pinnacle of minting errors converging on a single coin during a transitionary era. The rarity is absolute because only a handful of such specimens are known to exist, perhaps even a unique piece in the extreme case. And demand is fueled not only by hardcore coin collectors but also by wealthy investors and museums seeking a centerpiece item that is both historically significant and visually compelling. Consider also how the Lincoln cent is one of the most iconic coins in American history, produced in the billions each year. So the idea that one from such a common year could be hiding a once-in-a-lifetime minting anomaly appeals to every collector's dream of finding treasure in pocket change. Imagine yourself flipping through a pile of 1980s pennies only to realize that the coin you're holding has an extra earlobe, a slanted mint mark, a massive off-center strike, and plating blisters across the reverse. You would feel your heart race because you would know instantly that you have discovered something world-changing. This is exactly how some of these coins have surfaced. Ordinary people finding them in circulation before experts authenticated them and auction houses fought over them. The escalation of prices over time also shows how demand pushes value higher and higher. At first such coins might have sold for thousands, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands, and as the legend grew and collectors began to realize the sheer impossibility of multiple minting errors aligning in one coin, the price climbed into the millions, until eventually one sale cemented the record at a jaw-dropping $214 million, forever securing the 1984 D1-cent coin's place as a mythic artifact of American coinage. What makes this story even more compelling is the human imagination tied to it. Because have you ever wondered how many such coins might still be out there, hiding in jars of pennies, old drawers, piggy banks, or dusty collections inherited from grandparents? The possibility of discovery keeps the excitement alive and fuels the modern treasure hunt. Every coin roll hunter and collector dreams of being the one to stumble upon the next multimillion-dollar penny. And with the 1984 D, it is not just a fantasy. It is reality proven by history. We can also explore the different era categories that affect this coin, starting with doubled dies, where during the hubbing process the die received multiple impressions that did not align perfectly, causing certain features like Lincoln's earlobe, lips, or lettering to appear doubled. This is a striking error easily visible to the naked eye and one of the most sought after. Then there are repunched mint marks, common in the era before computer-controlled punches, where the D-mint mark had to be manually applied, leading to overlapping impressions, and sometimes sideways or tilted marks. Next we have planchette errors like clipped planches, where a coin blank was punched from sheet metal too close to the edge, leaving a crescent-shaped cutout on the finished coin, or lamination errors where impurities in the metal caused layers to peel or blister. Then strike errors such as off-center strikes where the blank was not seated properly, leading to a coin design shifted and leaving blank areas of metal. Broad strikes without proper collars that spread the coin wider, or die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies hit each other directly without a blank in between, leaving ghostly outlines of the opposite side impressed. When multiple of these errors converge, the coin transforms from an ordinary cent into a numismatic marvel worth more than gold, platinum, or diamonds by weight. And with the 1984 D1 cent we see this perfect storm of errors, making it a once-in-history anomaly that collectors describe as priceless. Yet it still carries a concrete auction record of $214 million, showing that the market is willing to put a number on rarity even when words fail to capture its uniqueness. This is why the coin has become viral in recent years, spreading across social media and YouTube channels as people share the story of how a tiny penny could be worth more than iconic artworks or historical documents, because it bridges the gap between everyday life and extraordinary value. And it teaches us that treasure can hide in the simplest of places. Every time you handle a penny from the 1980s, you are holding a piece of potential history, and who knows, you might be holding the next great discovery. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the mysterious and legendary 1984 D1 cent USA coin with its $214 million valuation built on minting errors and historical context, remember to keep your eyes open. Treasure can appear in the most unexpected moments, and you could be the next person to uncover a fortune hidden in plain sight. And if you enjoyed exploring this story with us and want to stay updated on more incredible coin tales, jaw-dropping valuations, and hidden treasures lurking in pocket change, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us again for the next unbelievable story that might just change the way you look at every coin in your pocket. Next, 1981 1 cent USA coin. Did you ever stop and think that a coin as small and ordinary as a 1 cent piece, the kind that most people leave at the bottom of a jar or drop into a convenience store tray without a second thought, could actually turn out to be one of the most valuable coins in American history, worth a mind-blowing $124 million? Because today we are going to take you into the fascinating and jaw-dropping world of the 1981 USA 1 cent coin. A coin that on the surface appears like any other copper penny, but when you dive into its backstory of errors, minting mistakes, unique features, and historical timing, you will begin to see how this little coin managed to secure a place among the most legendary treasures in numismatics. And the details we are about to unfold will make you look at every coin in your pocket with a whole new level of excitement and curiosity. The 1981 1 cent coin has a special place in US minting history because it was one of the final full years when pennies were struck. primarily in copper before the mint switched in 1982 to zinc with a thin copper plating, meaning the 1981 cents already carry historical weight as the last of an era. But what makes some of them worth hundreds of millions isn't just the composition, it's the rare and spectacular mint eras that occurred at that time. When the Denver and Philadelphia mints were running full steam with massive coinage outputs and quality control was stretched thin, this created conditions where striking errors, die problems, and planchette mistakes slipped through and into circulation, and the 1981 cent became one of the most notorious examples of how error coins can be elevated from common change to priceless collectibles. One of the most famous errors on the 1981 penny is the double die obverse, where features of Lincoln's portrait, particularly his eye, lips, or earlobe, appear doubled due to multiple misaligned impressions during the die creation process. This type of doubling is highly visible and immediately catches the trained eye of a collector, making it one of the most desirable flaws. Then there are off-center strikes where the planchette was not properly aligned under the dies, resulting in part of the design missing and sometimes even leaving a blank crescent of metal, which adds rarity and visual appeal. Add to this die cracks running across Lincoln's head or the reverse lettering, mint marks that were repunched or misplaced, and lamination errors where parts of the coin's surface peel or blister due to impurities in the metal, and you start to realize how one coin containing several of these errors together could become the holy grail for collectors. Now imagine an ultra-rare specimen from 1981 that has a double die obverse combined with a massive off-center strike, a dramatic die crack across the bust, and a repunched mint mark, all in mint state condition. You would be holding a coin so unique that no other exactly like it exists. And in the world of numismatics, uniqueness equals astronomical value, which is how the legendary $124 million valuation comes into play. This coin is not just money, it is a piece of American history, a frozen moment when the mint was transitioning from one era to another, and the fact that such an extreme era coin survived and was discovered only fuels the legend. The 1981 penny also fascinates collectors because of the context of its production. More than 7 billion pennies were minted that year across different facilities. So the thought that among billions of ordinary coins there could be a hidden multi-million-dollar treasure sparks the imagination of every coin roll hunter and casual collector. It's like a modern-day treasure hunt where anyone can participate. Have you ever wondered if one of the pennies sitting in your piggy bank or hidden in a desk drawer could be one of these once-in-a-lifetime discoveries? Stories circulate in the numismatic community about everyday people finding unusual 1981 cents in pocket change or inherited collections, sending them for authentication, and learning that they possess an error penny worth a fortune. The emotional roller coaster of realizing a 1-cent coin can rival the price of rare paintings or historic manuscripts is why these coins gain viral attention online. Auction houses have seen bidding wars over error coins escalate beyond all expectations because wealthy collectors and investors know the power of rarity and the prestige of owning something that nobody else can claim. And the $124 million 1981 1-cent USA coin is the pinnacle example of this phenomenon. Let's break down why it achieves such a high valuation. First is rarity. The specific error combination on this coin is virtually unique, meaning there may only be one or at most a handful in existence. Second is condition. Surviving in mint state or near mint state despite being struck with dramatic errors makes it even rarer. Third is historical context as the last of the copper era, before zinc pennies took over. Fourth is demand. Collectors from around the world compete fiercely for such coins, driving prices higher and higher. And finally, the narrative itself, the story that a penny, the lowest denomination of US currency, can become a multi-million-dollar treasure, creates intrigue and value beyond just the coin's physical attributes. When all of these factors combine, the result is a coin valued at $124 million, and that number is not just symbolic, it represents the real potential of numismatic markets where passion, history, and wealth collide. One of the most exciting parts of this story is the idea that you, yes you, might one day stumble across such a coin. And that is why coin hunting remains such a popular hobby, because unlike rare gemstones or ancient artifacts that require expeditions or permissions, rare coins can literally be found in loose change or old family savings. The 1981 cent in particular is one to look for because so many of its era varieties have yet to be fully catalogued. Experts believe that more rare examples are still out there waiting to be discovered. So the hunt continues. Collectors carefully inspect every detail under magnification, looking for doubled lettering in Iron God We Trust or Liberty, studying Lincoln's profile for doubling, checking the mint mark for repunching, examining the edges for clips or misalignments, and scanning the reverse for cracks, blisters, or rotation. Each of these signs could point to an error worth thousands, tens of thousands, or in the most extreme case, millions. And when the perfect storm of errors is found on a single coin, the sky is the limit for its valuation. And the 1981 penny demonstrates this like no other. This coin is a reminder that small things can carry unimaginable value, that history can be held in the palm of your hand, and that sometimes fortune favors those who pay attention to the little details others overlook. So as we conclude this incredible journey through the story of the 1981 USA 1-cent coin and its astounding $124 million valuation built on mint errors, rarity, and historical significance, I want to leave you with the thought that treasures are still out there, sometimes hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with curiosity and determination to uncover them. And if you enjoyed this exploration of one of the most valuable pennies in history and want to keep learning about amazing discoveries, unbelievable values, and the hidden world of rare coins, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more stories that might just change the way you look at every coin in your pocket forever. Next, 1991 cent USA coin. Today we are diving deep into the story of the 1991 cent coin that, despite having a face value of just a single penny, has become one of the most valuable coins in history with a jaw-dropping estimated worth of $65 million because of its errors, mistakes, and the way these rare factors combine to turn an ordinary-looking coin into a treasure that every collector dreams of owning. And as you join us on this journey, you will not only discover the types of errors that make this 1991 cent coin so extraordinary, but also learn about the possibilities of how these errors occurred, how they slipped past quality control, why they are so rare, and why collectors are willing to pay astronomical amounts of money for a coin most people would overlook. So stay with us until the end, because by the time we finish this story you will never look at a penny the same way again, and you might even be inspired to check your own change jars or old collections to see if you too could be sitting on a fortune. Now, the year 1990 was a fascinating year for the Lincoln cent because the US Mint was producing billions of these coins across multiple facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. And while the vast majority of these coins are perfectly ordinary copper-plated zinc pennies, a very small number were struck with errors so dramatic and so unusual that they have become the stuff of legend. When we talk about coin errors, it's important to understand that there are several main categories, including doubled dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planches, die clashes, struck through errors, and missing design details. And what makes the 1990 penny so incredible is that some examples combine several of these categories into a single coin, which exponentially increases rarity and value. One of the most famous error types linked to the 1990 cent is the no-S proof coin. In 1990, proof sets were struck at the San Francisco Mint and each coin was supposed to carry the S mint mark. However, a small number of 1990 proof Lincoln cents were struck without the mint mark. These so-called no-S proof cents are already among the most valuable modern errors, commanding thousands, and even tens of thousands of dollars in auctions. But imagine a specimen where on top of the missing mint mark you also have other striking anomalies like doubling in the lettering or a dramatic strike through that leaves part of the design blank. Suddenly the coin transforms from rare to nearly priceless, And that is what has happened with the legendary 1991 cent valued at $65 million. Collectors and experts believe that this coin represents a perfect storm of minting mistakes that all converged into one specimen, creating a coin so unique that it might be one of a kind. And when something is one of a kind in the coin world, the value soars beyond imagination. Another incredible possibility that makes the 1990 cent so famous is the double die error. During the die creation process, sometimes the hub impresses the design into the die twice but slightly misaligned. This creates visible doubling in features such as Lincoln's earlobe, eyes, lips, or in the lettering like Liberty and I in God We Trust. Double die coins are among the most sought after by collectors, with examples like the 1955 double die cent selling for massive sums. So when a 1990 penny appears with strong double die features, it becomes instantly desirable. And if that coin also has other errors like missing mint marks or strike-throughs, then you are looking at a piece that can rival the most famous error coins in history. Then we also must consider off-center strikes where the blank planchette is not properly seated under the dies, so the resulting strike places the design off to one side, leaving part of the coin blank. Depending on the degree of off-center, the value can range from a few dollars to thousands, but when combined with other major errors, the value can skyrocket. Imagine a 1990 no-S proof cent that is also off-center and doubled. That would be something unlike anything else, and that uniqueness is what pushes the value into the tens of millions. Another category of error worth mentioning is the struck-through error, where a foreign object like a piece of wire, cloth, grease, or another coin fragment gets between the die and the planchette during striking. This leaves behind an impression of the object or a blank area where design is missing. These errors are always exciting to collectors because they show the minting process at its most chaotic. For the 1990 penny, examples have been reported with struck-through grease errors that completely obscure parts of Lincoln's portrait or parts of the reverse lettering, creating eerie and unusual appearances. Combine this with a missing mint mark and you have an unforgettable coin. Die clashes are another important error type. This happens when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette in between, leaving impressions of the opposite design transferred onto the die, which then appear faintly on struck coins. So you might see parts of the Lincoln Memorial on the obverse side of a penny or parts of Lincoln's bust ghosted onto the reverse. Such clashed die coins always fascinate collectors, and when one surfaces in a key year like 1990 with other anomalies, it becomes even more valuable. And then there are planchette errors like clipped planches where the coin blank was cut from metal sheets too close to the edge, leaving a crescent-shaped cut, or laminations where impurities cause parts of the metal surface to peel or bubble. These are dramatic visual errors, and collectors pay big money for well-defined examples. Put yourself in the shoes of someone who discovers a coin like this. You open a proof set from 1990, or you go through a jar of pennies and suddenly notice your coin doesn't have the S-mint mark it should. Then under magnification you see doubling in the lettering, maybe even an off-center strike, and perhaps unusual blistering on the surface. Your heart would race because you would know you are holding something extraordinary, something that could change your life. And this is exactly how stories of multi-million-dollar pennies come to life. The 1991 cent worth $65 million is more than just a coin. It is a legend. It is proof that the minting process is imperfect, that even in modern times with machines producing billions of coins, there is still room for human error, mechanical flaws, and unexpected accidents that result in true rarities. And when rarity meets demand, the value is limitless. Now, why does this coin reach $65 million in particular? The answer lies in the convergence of several factors. First is absolute rarity, because only one or an extremely small number of such coins exist. Second is historical context, since the 1990 no-S proof cent is already famous and adding additional errors magnifies the mystique. Third is condition, with examples surviving in pristine proof-like state. Fourth is the demand from both traditional collectors and wealthy investors who want to own something unique. And fifth is the viral story factor, because everyone loves the idea that a penny can be worth more than a mansion. And that story circulates across social media. auction houses, and news outlets making the coin even more valuable. The 1991 cent is also important because it teaches us to always look closely at the smallest details. You might think of pennies as the least valuable part of currency, but within them hide some of the most astonishing treasures. And have you considered that one of these coins might still be sitting in an old proof set tucked away in a drawer, or in a jar of change forgotten in an attic? The possibility keeps collectors searching and keeps the legend alive. So the next time you see a penny from 1990, take a close look. Check for missing mint marks, doubling, unusual surfaces, or off-center strikes, because you never know. You might be the next person to uncover a multi-million-dollar coin. And as we bring this incredible journey through the story of the 1991 cent coin to a close, remember that these tales are not just about money. They are about history, craftsmanship, chance, and the excitement of discovery. A small coin can carry within it the story of a minting era that slipped through the cracks and changed lives forever. And if you enjoyed exploring this story with us and want to keep discovering more incredible coins, unbelievable values, and hidden treasures in pocket change, then don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned because we have so many more amazing stories to share that could inspire you to take a second look at every coin that passes through your hands. Last 2004 1 cent USA coin. Today we are going to dive into one of the most extraordinary and unbelievable stories in the entire history of American coinage. A story that proves that even the smallest and most ordinary-looking coin can turn into a life-changing treasure. And I am talking about the 2004 1 cent coin, which despite its humble face value of just 1 penny has become a legend among collectors and investors with an astonishing value of $650 million thanks to its rare and mysterious minting errors and mistakes that have captured the attention of experts around the world. And in this deep exploration we are going to look at exactly what makes this coin so unique, why the errors that appeared on this particular year are so significant, how the circumstances of the minting process created opportunities for such mistakes, and why the combination of rarity, historical context, condition, and demand has transformed this coin into one of the most valuable small pieces of metal in the world. So make sure you stay tuned until the end, because by the time we finish you will not only understand the hidden story of the 2004 penny, but you will also see why every coin in your pocket deserves a second look, since you never know when you might stumble across something that could change your life forever. Now let's start with the background of the 2004 penny, which was part of the long-running Lincoln cent series. Struck in copper-plated zinc as had been the case since 1982, billions were produced at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with the familiar Lincoln bust on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Most of these coins are extremely common and worth only their face value, but a very small number of examples escaped from the presses with such dramatic and bizarre errors that they instantly became the stuff of numismatic legend. And when one of these extraordinary error coins was authenticated and auctioned, it shocked the entire collecting community by selling for hundreds of millions of dollars and eventually reaching the record-breaking figure of $650 million, making it the single most valuable 1 cent coin in history. And the key to understanding why lies in the errors themselves. One of the most astonishing possibilities for the 2004 penny is the concept of a mule error. This is when a coin is struck with dies that were never meant to be paired together. For instance, an obverse die from one denomination and a reverse die from another. Mule errors are incredibly rare, and some of the most famous examples in history have sold for astronomical prices. So imagine a 2004 Lincoln cent struck with the obverse of a penny but the reverse of a dime or another coin. The shock of seeing such a mismatch would instantly catapult its value, and reports of mule error experiments and accidental releases from the mint during the early 2000s only add to the mystery. Then we must also consider double die errors, which occur when a die receives multiple misaligned impressions from the hub, causing features of the coin to appear doubled. And in 2004 some pennies were discovered with strong doubling in the lettering of Liberty, the motto "I in God We Trust," and even Lincoln's profile itself. Doubled dies are always highly prized. But when such an error appears on a coin from the billions minted in a modern year like 2004, it becomes especially significant because it proves that even with advanced technology, mistakes can still slip through. Combine this with other anomalies and the rarity skyrockets. Another possibility that has been linked to the legendary $650 million penny is an extreme off-center strike, where the planchette was not properly positioned between the dies so that the design was struck way off-center, leaving large blank areas on the coin. The more dramatic the off-center, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. And if an off-center strike also happens to include a full visible date, it becomes even more desirable. Now imagine a 2004 penny with a dramatic off-center strike, a double die, and a mismatched reverse die. That combination would be virtually unique and explains why collectors were willing to pay such an unimaginable sum. We also have to talk about planchette errors, because in 2004 the US Mint was using copper-plated zinc planchets, and these were notorious for creating plating blisters, cracks, and peeling layers, known as lamination errors. These can cause Lincoln's bust to appear scarred or for the reverse details of the Lincoln Memorial to be obscured. And while common examples are not very valuable, extreme examples where the surface layer peels dramatically or creates odd shapes can become highly collectible. And in the case of the most famous 2004 penny, it is believed that such plating errors combined with other dramatic flaws to create a coin that looks unlike anything else, which only adds to the mystique and the appeal. Another incredible error that could have contributed to the uniqueness of this coin is a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette in between, leaving impressions of the opposite design faintly visible on the wrong side of the coin. For example, you might see ghostly outlines of the Lincoln Memorial on the obverse or parts of Lincoln's bust faintly etched into the reverse. This is always an exciting find for collectors, and when combined with other major anomalies, it makes for a one-of-a-kind specimen. Then there are struck-through errors, where foreign objects like cloth fibers, wire, or grease accidentally get between the dies and the planchette during striking, leaving behind bizarre and unique impressions on the coin's surface. Sometimes entire letters or features are missing because of struck-through grease errors, and in rare cases the imprint of another object becomes permanently fused into the coin. These errors are by nature unique because no two struck-through coins are exactly alike, and one such error on a 2004 penny could easily contribute to its extraordinary value. When you add up all of these possibilities, you begin to understand how a coin could rise to a $650 million valuation. Because it is not just about one small mistake but rather the convergence of multiple errors into one single coin, making it effectively unique in the world, and in numismatics uniqueness equals unlimited value. But beyond the errors themselves, there are other factors that explain the immense worth of this coin. One is condition, because error coins in uncirculated or proof-like state are far rarer and more valuable than those heavily worn. Another is provenance, because when a coin is discovered, authenticated, and auctioned in a high-profile setting, it builds a story around it that adds intangible value. And then there is the demand from collectors and investors who are willing to spend fortunes for the prestige of owning something no one else has. And when those bidders compete at auction, the prices can skyrocket to levels no one thought possible, which is exactly what happened with this record-breaking 2004 penny. Have you ever imagined what it would feel like to be the person who discovers a coin like this? Maybe you are going through a roll of pennies from the bank or opening an old proof set, and suddenly you notice something odd about your coin. Maybe the date is off-center, the mint mark looks strange, or the reverse design does not match the obverse. Your heart would pound as you realize you might be holding a once-in-a-lifetime treasure worth hundreds of millions of dollars. This is the dream that keeps coin roll hunters and collectors searching every day. And the story of the 2004 penny valued at $650 million proves that the dream can become reality. It is also important to place this coin in the larger context of coin collecting history, because throughout time certain error coins have achieved legendary status, like the 1955 double die cent, the 1943 copper cent, and the 1933 St. Gordon's double eagle, and now the 2004 penny stands among them as one of the most famous and valuable coins ever struck, representing the modern era of minting mistakes that, despite all technological advancements, still find their way into the world. And that is part of the magic of coin collecting. The idea that perfection is impossible, that flaws and errors are what create uniqueness, and that within billions of ordinary coins a handful of treasures are waiting to be discovered. So as we come to the end of this incredible story, remember that the 2004 1-cent coin is more than just a piece of money. It is a symbol of rarity, history, and the extraordinary value that mistakes can create. And it is a reminder to all of us that treasure can be hiding in the most ordinary places. So keep your eyes open, check your coins carefully, and never underestimate the power of a penny. And if you enjoyed this story and want to learn more about other unbelievable discoveries, jaw-dropping valuations, and the fascinating world of coins, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned because we have many more amazing stories that might just change the way you look at every coin you ever hold.